guys are excited for this one. I know I am. And, you know, it's Brandon Burnside's birthday, so we're going to have to fit in a few little jokes about Brandon. You guys saw him on here a little while back, but we're going to fit some of those in today. So this week, we have one of my new friends on here. I want you all to give a warm welcome to my buddy, Brooks.
How's it going, everybody? It's going, man.
It's going.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
And it's a cold front in Texas, so it's 95, not 105.
And it's going to be like 80 on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only other people that could be as wrong as weathermen are politicians. So I don't know if it's really going to be that cold yet.
I'll take it. If it's below 90, honestly, I'm going to consider that a win.
Same.
Either way. But before we get too far, I just got to point out, because Biz helped me with this like 2 weeks ago, and I've been around him for almost an hour, and he hasn't said shit. But, y'all, finally, we've got the submersion. It's going to be on the website, the new Got Common Sense podcast t-shirt.
I've been so focused on my shit and everything else. I literally thought that said got milk and didn't pay it no mind. And I helped design this shit.
He
it's a similar font.
Oh my
he
God.
helped me.
It is the font. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know how hard we had to look for that?
Yeah,
like,
that was hard.
I mean, like, he helped me put this all together, and he ain't said shit. I've been, like, walking around sticking my chest out, like I got a new pair of boobs or something, you know? Like,
The bodybuilder, imaginary last syndrome.
and he ain't said anything all day.
I need mine. You know what? No, I am that. I got issues. Like, this is a very rough weekend for me coming up, so I am sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, are they going to be able to buy this shirt, like, very soon? We're going to
Very soon. We're going to just, we've just got to put out the colors, and you got to help me do the Shopify thing and all that. But
that takes no time.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
I'll
only thing I'll say, the hoodie, we'll put that out too.
Did you like it?
The hoodie looks dope. I mean, obviously, I can't wear it yet.
What about the hat?
No.
They missed it.
The hat's a no-go.
Okay.
So they sent it back and said, here's how we think it'll work with the, like, because we did the trucker hat with the embroidered logo. The logo's too complicated for embroidery.
Okay, so we can simplify it.
So we're gonna have to simplify it to do the hat right. Like that just doesn't work. So we'll get it figured out. But
that right
the
there,
T-shirt is
works.
gonna be out.
That works. Bellet canvas is nice and soft and comfortable. It's straight.
It's a classic tee. It fits well. It's comfortable, and I think it's dope as shit. I'm excited about it.
It makes your biceps look good.
I was just about to say,
yeah.
It's got that cut right there.
I feel like I'm doing one of Biz's like workout TikTok videos right now.
You know, today was the last. I haven't even posted today.
Hey, bro, what is this?
It's called a dolphin. Yeah, you row it.
Are you working on swimming or what are you doing?
It's a tricep exercise that you row it straight down so it covers all parts of your tricep, extends it fully, and you have to control it to bring it back up. You do 20 of them and then talk to me.
All right, I'm going to. Like, I've been watching your videos all week, and I'm like, man, Biz is on one right now.
Is it on a cable or with free weights?
Cable. Just take it all the way to the top.
He does his little reps, and he does this little, like, I don't know. It looks like some
I actually did work today. We actually did mountain climbers, squat, thrust, all that kind of shit today. So I'm literally should be in traction right now because my back is no bueno. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about our guest.
Yeah, let's get there. So I was super excited to get you on here. Like, first of all, we met for coffee to talk because, like, if y'all try to find this dude on the internet, like, that ain't gonna happen. Like, good luck. Good luck. Like, I don't do a lot of show research, but I do a good amount, especially when I don't know somebody well. But we had to, like, have a conversation and be like, all right, let's just meet for coffee.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. Cause,
it's a byproduct of some of my work history.
Yeah. So it's kind of a byproduct of what all he does. There's stuff we can and can't talk about. So we're just going to kind of try to, like, go through and navigate all that. So it'll be a little interesting there. But Brooks was referred to me from a buddy of mine that I work with. And it started out with, this is the smartest dude I know. And I was like,
I don't know about that. I do okay.
I mean, for Brandon, that's kind of not saying a lot. Or kidding. But it is at the same time. And I was like, how full of shit is Brandon right now? I mean, it is his birthday, so, you know, I'm going to cut him a little
He's cool. He's a Virgo. He's cool. I don't know him personally, but if
What's
it's his
a
birthday,
Virgo?
he's a
I
Virgo.
mean, he's probably like wearing his furry suit or something now. He's got
Probably.
midgets jumping out of a cake. I mean, who knows?
Oh, he's that other type of.
I mean, honestly,
Virgo.
you just grease him. Never mind. We're gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
I'm only
That's an
talking
odd
shit. My
bachelor
birthday's
party.
Tuesday, so I'm only talking shit because he's a Virgo. But if he's that type, I'm just gonna leave it alone and let y'all. Yeah,
We don't
never
know.
mind.
All right, Brooks. For everybody that has no idea who you are, give us a little background about where you're from, where you grew up, what your background is a little bit, so that they have a little point of reference here.
I'm from nowhere, Texas. It's Venus, like the planet, without all the allure of being a planet. Grew up mainly with people that have my own last name, and super poor. And growing up, if you couldn't find a way to fix it, you weren't allowed to have it. So I learned to be an engineer at a very young age because I like to have stuff that worked. So started a company when I was 13 years old, mowing yards and brush hogging and anything I could possibly do to make some money to put food on the table with the family and contribute. Got into tech about 97 or so, 98 while I was still in high school. And really everything just kind of went from there. Worked for a little while for the government after 9/11 and for the private side after that. And then I left there, went to Vegas, worked for the Wynn and for Hospitality Net doing some systems architecture and engineering. And from there I came back to Texas, got married, had a kid, and lived life. It's been doing everything else ever since. I'm your traditional nerdy engineer who also is a 6'3" ex-Texas footballer.
So what took you down the technology path? I mean, if you're living in bumfucking Texas on a ranch, doubt you didn't have a computer for a while.
We did
until
not.
You learned how to build one, which
we
I
did.
feel like you probably built your own first computer.
No, I bought a Packard Bell from a pawn shop.
Damn,
I earned money.
Packard Bell.
Yeah,
Damn.
It was like a 486 SX without a turbo button, which ironically slows them down.
I fixed those in the Army. That's why I'm laughing.
Dude, it's a Packard Bell compact, like back in the day, old IBM, like E-Series and I-Series stuff.
And that was considered fast.
You know, for what we did, it was great. I learned to program. I taught myself, and because I was just bored. I have an eidetic memory, so if I can read it, I can remember it. I got into tech because I like being an engineer. I like solving problems, and to me, technology is just solving the next problem. So it was pretty easy to do. It really isn't that much different than troubleshooting a motor, fixing a tractor, or doing some blade work. It's all math. Everything at the end of the day can come down to some form of a math problem or statistical problem.
I wish my brain worked like that, where like it just like I made that connection and it worked that way.
I have to learn by watching. If I follow along,
Watching, doing,
and then if I follow along and you do it as you do it, the next time I can do exactly what you just did.
but
I
an
have to watch you
eidetic
do
memory where you just like that's some Sheldon shit.
it. Yeah,
It only works if I read it. If I just listen, I'm not going to remember most of
I
it.
fall asleep reading directions.
I'm like, I am
do it.
painfully ADD. Like it is. I didn't even know I was ADD until I was 24. And just happened by accident. This chick was like, I'm pretty sure you have ADD. And I'm like, I'm not one of those hyper kids. I was one of those hyper kids, but I didn't know it at the time. And then I found out, obviously much later on in life, but I didn't realize that I just thought I was distractible. Everyone else thought I was distractible, but I was a big redneck kid and no one really knew what to do with me because I was too smart for my own good in school. And they just
you
gave me
figured it out.
weird things to fix. And I mean, I remember we got a Encyclopedia Britannica of all things, looked up trebuchets and built them. A bunch of my buddies got together and we tried to launch a car. That was the goal. We were unsuccessful, but it was a hell of a good time trying. Didn't end well.
We're like trying to build ramps to launch ourselves on bikes. And
yeah,
they're
yeah.
launching cars.
Cars.
Well, I mean, yeah, we did the ramp stuff too, though. Quite a bit of it.
There's a lot of things on the internet now that says you haven't had a childhood unless you knew about getting a cinder block and finding an old wood plank and taking your bike off of it. If your child hasn't done that, your childhood was shit.
So we used to hand
And
dig
then
our
like
ramps.
full gear, like helmet, arm pads, knee
Helmet.
pads.
We didn't have none of
We
that
didn't do
shit.
none of that. But I'm saying, like, even
Oh,
the
like
kids
the kids
now.
Yeah, now
bro.
they have like they're on full riding harnesses at 6 years old because their parents are so worried they're gonna get a scrape or a tummy.
I mean, I keep telling Brandon when he comes to the office, I was like, dude, you can take the helmet off.
take the helmet off.
before you
I've been
come
telling
in.
him for years to take it off. I don't know why he
Like,
won't.
I don't know why you're so comfortable wearing
He's worried
it.
about it messing up his coif. That's what I keep
Oh my
hearing.
God, I hope he's watching.
If not, I'm sure he'll see it on VOD.
Yeah, or he'll get the recap and be listening to it and be like, ah, this
We'll just
guy.
send the file straight to
I'll
his
get a text.
email.
I'll see my phone light up in like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah,
It's gonna be Brandon.
yeah. All right, before we keep going down, because I know this is going to be one of those shows where we're just going to go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. So everybody always wants to know early on, what are we drinking? What are we smoking? So tonight, this is my first time smoking this.
What do you think?
This was a Biz recommendation. So far, I like it. It's having a little trouble staying lit right now, but I might, once I get to, I mean, it's burning well, but like it's just not staying lit. But we are smoking the Las Calaveras. And we also,
It's good.
if we get to the second one, just because apparently nobody watches this show and comes to ICC and buys cigars, because nor did anybody realize this box is still in there, but there was more Panda Dominoes in there today, so I had to buy some.
Wow, I thought they
Like,
would keep going by now.
I stuffed some in my locker, and yeah, I had to buy some. You guys all know how much I like that cigar, so I won't stay on that one. But I'm drinking a Twiggy's, we call it the Gin and Jameson Old Fashioned.
I mean, if you're gonna
You'll
go after
have
a
to ask-
classic
you'll have to
porn
come
star,
ask-
that's the way to do it.
You'll have to come ask Twiggy about that story, and then I think you're still going with the Jack.
I'm
on
just sticking
ice.
with Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
It works.
I wish I could drink Jack. It gives me heartburn in like 2.5 seconds.
Got to be Irish and Texan.
I mean, something. But it doesn't work for me. And I think Biz is rocking his Shirley Temple over there again.
Baby. Coke Zero with lime.
But, you know, follow
Real man.
his TikTok. You want more advice by Biz.
And never mind. See, I'm not gonna let him do it to me. I'm not. So anyway, Brooks, going back to you.
Yeah.
Anytime he tries to give me shit, I'm going to pivot right back to
That's
you.
all good. The lime keeps it classy, by the way.
Thank you. See, somebody understands. Somebody has couth in this room.
I mean, honestly, it's
Somebody
probably
got
not
common
me,
sense.
but my girlfriend tries to imbibe me with it all the time.
Really?
Yeah, she drinks. All of her stuff's got lime in it. Everything has freaking lime
Man, I ain't
in
gonna
it.
lie, dude. Since moving to Texas, I put lime on fucking Cheerios. It's like shit. You put lime on anything you cook, do whatever. It's just good.
Just don't
good.
do it outside. If you're at the barbecue outside, don't put lime on your mouth and be anywhere in front of the sun because it's gonna blister your face up.
Oh,
Bad. Because I'd ask me
Facts.
how I know that.
I wish you hadn't have told
I
him
know that exactly.
That would have been
Listen
a
up tomorrow
great
morning, I'll
photo
do that.
op.
let's see. See, that's how you know ADHD. Because I was one of them curious kids that if you tell you don't do it, that means do it.
Oh, dude, if it smelled like you should eat it, I probably tried. Actually, I guarantee that I probably tried. I did try, and I would get in trouble all the time for eating things I wasn't supposed to.
So I don't mean to derail you, but I got to ask this because you're a true, honest Texan. So my daddy is from Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
And before he passed away, rest in peace last year, this dude ate every fucking thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, one day he was, you know what the story I'm going to tell just real fast. I came home. So have you ever had chicken feet?
Yeah. Pickled and fried and grilled and
Boiled and seasoned. He boiled them. Now, I ain't gonna lie, the shit smelled amazing. I was like, yo, what is that smell?
it doesn't smell good when it's pickled. Nothing smells good.
Oh, no.
pickled,
When he was cooking, he seasoned, then he took the lid off the pot, and it was a fucking horror show. Scared my 10-year-old to death. My son didn't come out of his room for like a week because he's seen these chicken feet. He just started eating chicken again, I swear to God, maybe 3 months ago.
Did he eat like pig's feet and
He
cow
ate
tongue and all that stuff?
Tuda. Yes, cow's tongue, pig's feet, hog maw, all that. Man, when I say if it was able to be cut and frozen, it was on a skillet or on the grill.
Yeah.
So that is you know. Okay, never mind.
I
True
mean,
Texas.
so like I won't eat anything that's peach because peach is the devil. I absolutely can't stand it. People love peach stuff. I cannot stand peaches. It is just not a thing I will ever enjoy. But
Like
other than
the
that,
fruit
I'll
peaches?
eat any. Yeah, I hate peaches so much. Even
love
like the fake peach flavored stuff, or even mango because it's kind of like peach adjacent. Nah, I'm good.
That's cinnamon for my little brother.
Yeah. Who doesn't like cinnamon? Probably the same people.
His little
They
brother.
say the same thing. They're like,
Well-
who doesn't like peach?
I'll tell this quickly, as quick as I can. So the first time my little brother got me, I mean, like, legit got me. I was coming out of my parents' bathroom, and he bum rushed me. And he tackled me, and I fell between the toilet and the wall. So, like, I'm pinned on my side. And he's going to town on me. It's the first time he's ever had the upper advantage, and he's on top of me. He's just giving it to me. I'm literally trying to reach above me and grab the toilet tank lid, and I would have hit him in the head with it if I could have gotten it off.
That's deadly, too.
Yeah. That's desperate measures of what I was going for.
Yeah.
I did not grab the toilet tank lid. What I grabbed was Glade cinnamon potpourri, and I just got it over my head like this, straight in mouth, and he threw up for probably he threw up for probably 45 minutes. And I thought I was gonna have to call poison control. I didn't.
It's not that poison.
He was all right.
It'll make him crap.
But
use the restroom.
The best part.
You're talking from experience?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
This wasn't like...
I got a potpourri story.
I was probably 12, so he was 9, 10-ish. Best part, when he turned 21 and we went out for his birthday, him and I ended up in the bathroom. I believe it was Fox and the Hound at the same time. We're standing at the urinals, having a conversation while we're taking a leak, and the timer of the aerosol goes off. And it's cinnamon potpourri, and it goes, and he straight just starts upchucking into the urinal, and I mean, I'm now like falling over, laughing my ass off because I know, like I was like, cinnamon, got him. Still to this day, and every now and then, if I feel like being an asshole for like his birthday or Christmas, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put like one of those Yankee candles that's cinnamon flavored in his gift package.
Serve him cinnamon toast crunch for breakfast. Mm-hmm. Just by the way, real quick, Larry Adams just liked the podcast, and he was here last week looking for you.
I've missed him twice now.
Him and his wife came down, and they was like, "So where's Garrett?" I was like, "Shit, normally in this atmosphere he's here, but I think it was you were celebrating your anniversary or whatever last week, right?"
I mean. Last week we had the anniversary. I mean, I don't know how you're getting this because, like, I
monitor on the phone and on here, so I look at both.
I'll say, like, 0 comments so far. Like, it's
I can see it. I see it when it pops up on the Facebook when somebody likes it, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know. It's just not working or cooperating for me today.
Because you don't have producers' credits. You don't get to do this side.
Something. Biz changed my settings or something. I don't know.
You need new rights assigned to you. He stripped him. He was like, talent only. They're going to fuck it up, so we might as well only have the power to one person.
He's not smart enough to operate Facebook. You know, we'll roll with it.
So anyway.
So I know you got into some like hacking stuff when you were younger. Like
I did.
What took you down that road and what happened?
The Anarchist Cookbook. I came across it randomly on the internet.
Anarchist Cookbook. Is this like a famous thing?
I don't know. It's famous in circles, but I don't know how famous it is to regular people. But I learned to phone freak. I watched that movie with Angelina Jolie, Hackers, back in the day, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. I want to rollerblade everywhere. I thought that's really what it would be about. It wasn't, but it was surprisingly easy back then anyway to get into stuff. And that's actually why I went to go work for who I went to go work for after 9/11 was because of the stupid shit I did as a kid. I'll never forget when my grandparents answered the door and someone from law enforcement was there to ask a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm like, That's back when we had, the newspapers had internet. So like Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Dallas Morning News, they would sell internet to their subscribers. They had paper subscriptions. And that's what my grandparents had. And that's where I went to use the computer and be on the internet and stuff like that and do homework. And I was like, I can do this. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And the very next day, they showed up. And I was like, oh, my grandma, who I love dearly, the most important woman in my life for the longest time, woke me up and was like, hey, did you get around the computer last night? Yeah, we figured. It's tons of fun.
What is that called when like the kids are playing video games and one of them like calls and reports like a false crime? Like I know I can't figure the word.
Oh, like when you SWAT someone or something? No.
So
that's not what happened. It was real law enforcement.
One of my nephews got my older brother swatted. And like that was like my first time like experience stuff like that. Like,
That's dangerous.
yeah,
honestly,
this kid ended up getting arrested. And like this is kind of funny because you always talk about the kid in Ohio in the basement.
Yeah.
He literally was, and like half my dad's entire side of the family is from Ohio.
Yeah,
it's like hearing that like some kid in the basement in Ohio swatted like my middle nephew. My brother had came down and answered the door in his underwear and like got swatted.
And you know, in Texas, that's pretty dangerous because the overwhelming majority of Texans are armed, and no-knock warrants are usually a pretty poor thing that comes across here in Texas. And one of the things that I do these days is I stream on Twitch and Kick and a couple of other platforms for some gaming, and it is a thing in the game I play. I play Tarkov primarily, and COD every once in a while if chat makes me do it. And swatting is like a big deal we have to deal with. So like in the city that I live, we've brought it up that, hey, I'm a streamer. Sometimes, you know, people are stupid. Please call first. Nobody is getting shot at my house unless I'm the one doing it. And I promise you that I'm going to have a solid reason for doing so.
That's awesome.
But if that happened to like one of my I'm the oldest child and I have 12 siblings. My youngest sister is a year younger than my daughter, because Irish Catholic families are just special. And I don't know what I would do if that happened to her. I would be, as a parent, super pissed. Like as a grown-up, I'd be pretty upset of the abuse of law enforcement, but as a parent, I'd be like, who the hell is picking on my kid this much and thinks this is a fantastic idea?
That's crazy. Like I was at a mastermind deal not too long ago, and Walter O'Brien was there. You know, I'm sure you know who that is. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that like the show Scorpion was made after. And this guy has like, I think his IQ was like, I think he said 176. Like just insane, like crazy. And he does all kinds of like crazy. And I think he hacked NASA at like 9 years old or something crazy like that. Like that's just insane.
Yeah. I met Kevin Mitnick a million years ago. He's a prolific hacker, and he was one of the most fascinating people I'd ever met in my life. He was just a relatively normal person for a guy that's like that. Yeah. But just a never-ending like desire to learn as much as possible. Like he's
some of them aren't though. Like some like you can like not have a conversation with them because like they're not.
Yeah. Useful. Well, they can be antisocial, but if you speak their language, then they'll talk to you just fine, because not a lot of people speak like them. And it's like one of the things I enjoy about going to DEF CON, because I used to go to DEF CON quite a bit, is just the kind of people that you meet interacting with them. And a lot of these people that are for the first time, some of them for the first time in their lives, are around other people like them. And seeing how they come out of their shell has always been really cool to me.
So where did you make this leap from playing with computers and rebuilding things and engineering? Because if I understand correctly, like you only did like one semester of college, and then
I promised my family I would do a semester, so I did one semester.
You did one semester.
Yeah, I graduated in 2000. I'm an ancient person, to be fair, in the internet space anyway. I might as well be a dinosaur.
But then you've like transitioned this, like, and I know we can't go into depth about this, but like you've worked for some really big name people, companies, and traveled the world. Like, how did you make that transition or take it to the level that you were able to be sought after like that?
Making mistakes in my youth helped, to be fair. Like if you can show an aptitude when you're young, you get put on a radar. And that's probably realistically what happened for most of it. And then being very good at what I did while I was out there helped, to be fair, as well. And then when I came back, I used the money that I made to really kind of amp up my company and do an enormous amount of like white label business support stuff. So we designed a lot of carrier solutions that at the time didn't exist. They exist now. Obviously, a lot of people do like software-defined WANs and commodity network stuff. They didn't at the time when we were doing it. Yeah. And just meeting people. Like I'm a relatively personable person sometimes.
I would say so. For sure.
And that kind of helps, like being able to bridge the gap between like nerdy kid, football jock, engineer, and executive helps you like work a room and to kind of figure out how you fit into a bunch of places and just meeting a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I can remember a lot of facts about people, so it's easy to, approach someone and be like, hey, I saw you at whatever random thing, and repeat some random snippet about a thing that they enjoyed or something like that. And that's really what it comes down to, is being able to be in the right place at the right time. A lot of this too is, before 9/11, before the internet really blew up, before social media was even like MySpace with your top 8, it was a pretty small group of people that ran just a few select networks. And a lot of those people went off to go be government contractors, and people that I knew growing up and like the freaker forums and stuff like that all had jobs. So they all had, they all got picked up for other things, and we all got recommendations. And that's kind of how that worked organically. These days, it's a much different thing. You have to have a social media presence or some sort of notoriety or know a dozen people, or it's like a Nepo hire. And it works entirely differently than it did pre, 2000s.
How have you never done like, I wish I had asked you when we were talking at the coffee shop. One of my favorite things I've found playing around on the web. Have you seen this guy that like, and it might be one you've already mentioned, I don't know. There's this hacker dude. They're like, people call or whatever, and they try to hack him and run some kind of scam on him.
And he's telling them everything, where they're at, what they're doing.
Oh, the scam buster guy?
Yeah.
I love watching that.
He hacks the shit out of them. Like, he's like, oh, really? So give me that information. And then he gets their bank account and he jacks their shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. The thing about the way most of those places work, like you're talking about like the call center scam, people are like, I accidentally transferred you too much money. And it's all just a fake screenshot.
Yeah.
The tools that most of those places use are not particularly sophisticated. So if you've got the tech to backdoor them, it's not terribly difficult to do. It's a lot of social and human engineering, though. That dude his whole team does a lot of that social engineering.
Yeah.
Most of hacking, especially like pre-2007, 2008, was social engineering. It was calling in and like faking a password or like, trying to impersonate a user. The big Apple hack, the first one that happened in the early 2000s, was a dude basically calling in and acting like an ex-Apple employee and getting a bunch of access that Apple has that they shouldn't really have had in the first place. That's why they don't do it anymore. But that's how the first leak happened. It wasn't that Apple was compromised. The human was compromised. And now we've kind of engineered technology around that. But the weakest link to every security model is the fleshy bit. It's the human in the middle, because we're always going to fuck something up.
Well, I mean, like, even just today, so I got a piece of mail that literally looked like it was coming from the government. And it had a return envelope for a Washington, D.C. address.
It's probably a Dropbox.
And it legit had like this whole form for me to fill out, telling me about all these fines and this and that, but like looked like a legit like LLC tax form, whatever, that said that if you were a CEO, CFO, CIO, blah, 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 you had to name all these delegates and you had to file this, and it was $119.
Yeah.
And send it back with this form all filled out with all your corporate information and send it back into this address. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, this is the dumb shit. But how many like LLCs like that the people don't know, they just see this form, fill it right back out, send their $119. And I mean, if 10% of the people sent that in, I mean, how much money did they just make?
You got to think about it. Like, my mom has been scammed twice because she doesn't know. My mom's 73, so she sees something, anything in the new technology area, she just counts as legit. And have you seen the movie The Beekeeper? Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Great movie, by the way. Jason Statham.
Exactly. And see what happened. And that's I'm so glad they did that. Whoever does that, yes, Jason Statham needs to come and burn your entire building down.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Even just this morning at 6:43, I'm about to head out, take Oliver to school. I got a text message saying that my card ending in such and such a number just got a charge. This is let us know yes or no if this is your card. Somebody tried to charge breakfast at IHOP.
Yeah.
And luckily, my banker lives across the street.
Yeah.
So is this legit? He said, nah, that's bullshit. It's
Yeah.
Don't even respond, because the minute you respond,
you get
it opens
flagged
the
as a
door
live
right.
number. The minute you answer any of that stuff, don't even unsubscribe to like the garbage spam that you get, because every time you do, you're confirming your email
that
address
is
is legitimate. Yeah.
When we first moved here, somebody tried to get our my Navy Federal. I opened an email and it looked legit, but I didn't see the fine print where some of this stuff was off, and they literally tried to get 10 grand out of my account. And all I did was open it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I mean, if like my boy said, if you try to rob me, you be practicing.
Yeah.
So there was nothing in there to take out, but still, like, it just takes that much. So you see it, ignore it. I don't swipe it or nothing. I just
I always tell my users either flag it and send it to us, send it to support, or just delete it. We probably get between all the customers, especially when I was on more day to day, we probably filter out 400,000 or 500,000 pieces of spam a day, easy. Of some kind, but we were running networks for some very large companies, so the volume of email.
Well, it's crazy. Even just mine. Like if I go, like I went to Denver Monday, Tuesday, back Tuesday night. I had 500 and something emails. I'm gonna say 20 of those were like emails that were like work related. Mm-hmm. The rest was all either ads, spam, or complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and it's definitely during an election year, that shit goes up like tenfold. Mm-hmm. But it's getting crazy with the AI, like what they're able to put out there, and like even like the voice replicators and all that stuff. Like,
I had an
where do
executive.
you kind of see all this evolving in this space now?
I think that one big thing is users as a whole are becoming more savvy and better trained. For the most part, if you're under 20 years old, really, honestly, probably under about 30 or so, you're far less likely to fall victim to one of those things these days, because we're being so chronically online. Anyone chronically online is going to be relatively skeptical. The other thing, too, is the AI tools are getting very good at deceiving us, but the AI tools are also getting very good at picking up on when something is wrong. And, you know, some of the stuff that, like, Elon Musk is doing, he's got... like they have a new AI engine, Grok, what's in its second version. One of the things you can do, though, is you can feed it any piece of content, and it's going to tell you if it's probably generated by AI, which makes a bunch of like salespeople and like viral marketing people mad, because
AI
they're
is snitching on AI.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. Honestly, it is a good thing, because we're looking at a point where, you know, there's the Mr. Beast guy, Jimmy, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
There was a leaked fake phone call, because they have some controversy right now, but there was a leaked fake phone call that sounded legitimate, sounded just like him, and it fooled several other people. And finally, before the video was sent out by Jake Weddle, I think is his name, he finally got confirmation he was at the very last minute after spending a lot of effort making a piece of content around it. And I listened to the recording, and it's just, I deal with stuff like this all the time, and I listen to the recording. Even I was like... outside of some weird compression artifacts, which could just be the quality of the file itself, it sounded legitimate. The voices were close enough, and the tech a year ago wasn't good enough to sound that good.
I did a commercial spot for a client, a cigar client friend of ours. Have you heard that spot I did for Mark?
Yeah.
That's AI. Everybody thought I grabbed somebody and did something. That whole thing, I typed it in, got it, whatever. I mean, the natural breaths, the iterations. Even when I heard it back and did corrections, and I had on, I edited with the headphones, and I'm like, this literally sounds like a guy talking, because he's breathing at the right spaces, the iterations and all that. And if you capitalize it, then they know the AI knows to emphasize it, to pull it back. I was just amazed.
This is where I really hope, if Trump gets elected, if that actually happens,
we need some kind of regulation around it, honestly.
I hope he does at least in some kind of advisory role get Elon on, like he's talked about. Like, we need someone that fucking smart that knows the shit to like help with that shit.
Think about when the deep fake thing started with Tom Cruise, you know, and how that looks. And then he made a movie about it. If you look at the last Mission Impossible movie, that's what it was all about. If you think about this, if you wake up and your bank account has $700,000 in it, because money now is not paper, it's just ones and zeros.
Yeah, it's not backed by anything, by hopes and freaking dreams.
But you see it and you're like, okay, look, I'll give you another $750,000 if you do this. And it was an AI entity controlling humans just using a bank account.
Yeah.
Riches. And it can do it because it can, at a snap of it doesn't have fingers to snap, but it can control anything it wants to. If you're looking for somebody in the airport and use face scan recognition, this AI entity was able to put whoever they were looking for his face on everybody, and you didn't know who was who. That's all you had to go on. Like now you're looking at, back when we were kids, all that stuff was fantasy. Now this shit is becoming real. Think about iRobot.
Yeah.
That shit's real now.
Yeah.
You got semi trucks on the road with nobody driving them.
My stepdad was having surgery today, and my mom literally sent us a picture of the robot that came.
Yeah, the Da Vinci robots are insane. They're 20 years old,
not
too.
Even that. This was just a robot that came to get them and escort them to surgery.
Oh shit!
It was like R2D2. It came and got him and was walking around. I was like, what in the hell?
But the scary thing about all this, I'm a movie nut, as you can tell now. But there's a film. It's an old Pixar movie called
WALL-E.
WALL-E.
WALL-E's fantastic.
WALL-E.
Think about you don't think we're on our way to that? Because
I think we really are.
When's the last time you dialed a number? Now you can just say, "Hey Siri, Alexa," and it dials it for you. You don't know nobody's number.
All right, so I'm a bit of a neophyte because I still remember phone numbers, and I actually remember phone numbers.
Because you're you.
Yeah,
you're
to be
you.
fair,
But for the majority of the world,
yeah.
electric cars driving the subway. Mankind became so fat and lazy that this robot finding a single organism of a plant was a big deal because we junked up our planet. And I just feel that they were telling the future. They really were, because I feel we're heading that direction.
Well, and you've got you look at what so many people. Again, we're going to go back to some younger people that are just the chronically online people. A lot of them would give up most of their normal autonomy to be able to plug into a VR world to do whatever they want. I mean, and for me, I like touching grass. Again, I'm a big old redneck, so I want to hunt, I want to fish, I want to do whatever the hell I want. I want to do it for real. I want to pass those memories on to my kids and my grandkids and everything else. So I'm not that person, but I'm probably one of the last. I think they call me an elder millennial because when I was born, I'm right at the cutoff to still be there, but still remember what I can taste and smell water hose in the summertime drinking from one.
Man, we talk about that all the time. Letting it run till it cools off. That plastic
and
water
sometimes
taste.
but if you're thirsty enough, bro, you don't care. Yep. And you could still always find out where all the neighborhood kids were because that one house 20 fucking bikes.
I think there needs to be a hybrid on it too. If you knew what dial-up was and asking your parents for a 100-foot phone cord so that you could talk in your room, or
you'd pace around and you would stretch. A phone cord used to be this long, curled up, and it was 60 feet long when you were done because you always walked around with it.
Yeah. But if you lived in those times, because they keep changing this generation thing, to me, it's I'm going to say I think 85 is the cutoff. If you were born 85 or earlier, that's a generation there.
Yeah.
Because you grew up with the same things, the TV and internet and all that stuff evolving at the same time.
We had 3 channels and they went off at 12 o'clock.
All these things.
Yes.
I think it needs to be grouped a little differently. And my wife definitely would agree with that because she hates when I call her a millennial.
So I was born in 82. And
so you're same as her.
Yeah, I'm on the edge of it. And sometimes I honestly, I don't because the age range is it goes to 90 something, I think, right? Millennials are 90 something up. In the 90s, I was in high school.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is a terrible idea. I don't want to be grouped with some of these kids, but also, a lot of things, kids these days are not going to know a lot of the stuff we did. As parents, especially parents my age, we were the first generation of the helicopter parent. So you were always worried about your kid getting hurt. For me, I'm not that way. I think your kids need all the bumps and bruises and bacteria they can find because it helps their immune system. It's good for their body. The more we shelter our kids, the weaker they become. That's just a reality. as a parent, you never want to see your kids go through something traumatic that you had to go through. But also, I'm pretty cool with who I am today, and I know that trauma and those kinds of things made me who I am today. And I want to make sure that my kid has the right kind of, like, I guess you could call it trauma, but like the right kind of stressors and experiences to be a good adult. Because as a parent, your job is to make better adults who go on to make more better adults and to be good for society.
Participation trophies like Brandon got?
God, no. You know what? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I'm fitting some in there every time I can.
But honestly, no. Like we didn't celebrate mediocrity growing up. We celebrated hard work. Not even necessarily like winning, but hard work got you a celebration. Yeah. I remember. Do you remember when Pizza Hut had the Book It Club, and you could get like the pan pizza if you read, I don't know, 4 books.
If you got 10 stickers.
Yeah. Why don't they still do that? Like I don't even know when that stopped. But I remember growing up.
Do they even have a book fair for kids anymore?
They do. Elementary does. Yeah, elementary does. Yeah, my Oliver.
I was saying they just have tablets and do it on that, because book club. If you were our age,
dude, you got the cool pencil or the slap bracelet. Give me that slap bracelet.
Yeah, if you had $20 and you went to the book fair because your parents gave you $10, $20.
Oh yeah,
and you got some like pencils, snap bracelets, and you got like
the cool erasers.
Teddy Ruxpin.
The cool thing for us growing up at the book fair was,
or some Dr. Seuss.
Did you guys have the
where the sidewalk ends?
The pencils with all the NFL teams.
Yeah, we did.
NFL, NHL, MLB.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
I mean, to be fair, it's just Dallas, Texas. We pretty much only had the Cowboys because it's, it's Dallas. They're going to win again. Jerry Jones just has to die. You can't keep trying to manage that team like he's the actual manager.
I concur with you 10,000%. That is the best thing that's been said. We can go home now.
Ever since Jimmy left to Miami and did great things in Miami, I've been super frustrated with Jerry Jones. Just because they have the talent, we wasted
draft. Because it's all about selling this.
That right there.
It's the most valuable football team on the face of the planet. And not like by a little bit, by a ton.
By a ton. Its first trillion.
That just happened like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, $1 trillion valuation.
I mean, that's insane.
But can we win a Super Bowl, please?
No,
we didn't. We
can't even wrap Dak up. Like, we forgot what it was like to go through like the Quincy Carter days and all of that bullshit pre-Romo.
We can't do shit in the postseason at all. We can get all the way. All right.
Yep. We can go there.
We can go all the way through a season. We can get all the way into a playoff, and they're going to just gas out. It's like the Texas Rangers half the time. Up until they recently won the World Series, they would do pretty well, and they would just gas out.
They're gassed because they blew their load all last year at the end of the season. Timing worked out perfect, but we need the Cowboys to gas out. Like, go.
We also need to stop trading our draft picks. To be fair, we got a lot going on that could be absolutely solved by the owner not trying to be a manager.
And if we could also quit drafting like Michigan linemen that were like in a system that doesn't match our system, and that have like one technique but can't do anything else, that would be great too. So let's jump back into it a little bit. After you did all the overseas work, which gave you the financial ability to start your own stuff, what did you start and where did you take it? Like, where did you decide to go at that point?
So I actually was inspired by something from Steve Wynn from before I ever met him. But he made his fortune buying the like skinniest casino by Circus Circus. He bought like part of a parking lot and said, I'm going to put this. He wanted a license. They wouldn't give him a license. So he thought to himself, I'm going to build the world's skinniest, tallest casino in the middle of this fucking parking lot. And they're either going to buy me out or let me do what I want. And they ended up giving him what he wanted later, obviously, because the Wynn has gone on to be incredibly successful. But when I was looking to come back and spend some of the money that I had made and grow my company and figure stuff out, one of the things I did is I went and found every crappy, small podunk meet me room, which is where all the carriers come in, and would lock them into like long ass leases in places nobody ever gave a shit about. And then when these big carriers want to come through, because they have to do network expansion, they want access to RBI, Rural Broadband Initiative money, they have to pay people like me. So that's what we did, is we just made this massive network of these crappy little podunk areas. Like some of them are literal closets in like municipal buildings.
What gave you that idea to do that?
Steve Wynn screwing over Circus. The smallest, crappiest thing I can do. It's not about trying to grow that network. It's about finding a pain point in the future and being able to capitalize and monetize it. So those carriers, AT&T and Frontier, Verizon, Charter, they had to expand. And the only way to do that is to lay fiber and to lay access. And to lay access, and for the most part, internet is still, largely still regulated the same way we've done phones for the last 75 years. They have to go into those meet me rooms because that's where the FCC allows them to go. And we just had long ass leases and we just subbed them out. I ended up selling that part of my company. But in that time, we expanded internationally. We were in 19 countries in addition to a bunch of pops in the US. We did a bunch of custom cloud and carrier services, a bunch of custom security work, application support, clients like Rakuten, one of the largest e-commerce companies in the world. They were my client in the US for a while. Did a partnership with OVH, which is a huge data center and telecom company over throughout Europe. And I basically retired. I wanted to go build race cars and work on shit with my hands. And then a friend of mine needed some help. I'm not building any right now, but I like building.
Retirement sucks.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I used to race cars. I actually used to get in trouble routinely for street racing. But these days, a buddy of mine needed some help. He wanted to grow his business. Ben, actually the one that knows Renee. And I left what I was doing and decided to come do this and help him out with Blacksmith and what we're doing over there. We do custom. It's not really like crypto stuff, but some of it is around crypto and smart contracts, software development, architecture, system solution for some relatively large companies, most of which are under NDA, but some relatively large companies.
What's your favorite Steve Wynn story you can actually tell?
The double, that one's a security thing. The first time I met him, he threw a phone at a technician. We were replacing it, and it was not supposed to ring. It was supposed to light up, and the very first thing it did was ring, and he threw it at the technician. That's probably my favorite story. I remember, though, when the market crashed in 2009, one of the things that he did that I was very surprised with is the Wynn was the last company on the strip to change their rates, the last company to lay off employees, to cut benefits, do any of that. And one of the ways they did that at the time, nobody in Vegas was doing it, but they invested an enormous amount of money into business intelligence and automation. And we had a multi-year contract to do that. And it was a huge deal. And at the time, it allowed them to stay nimble and profitable and hyper monetize all of their guests worldwide. And nobody was doing it. Now everyone does it. Every hotel knows everything about you. Every casino knows whether or not you're going to get the shrimp scampi on a Tuesday if you fly in on a Sunday. It's insane how much data casinos purchase on the people that are there. But at the time, nobody was doing it, and allowed them to really skirt a lot of the downturn and anchor Vegas for years past when everyone else was laying off thousands of people.
So how did someone that has your knowledge in this, how do you protect yourself, and how do you feel about privacy laws? Because I can tell you, like, my wife alone, like, she is a privacy Nazi.
Good.
Like, yeah, it's so good. Like, my wife still, like, wants paper statements. Like, she doesn't do auto pays. Like, what advice, or maybe, like, what tools of the trade or do you use, and how do you look at that? Because I think we need some major revamping with the way technology is advanced of protecting people's privacy. But, like, how do you look at that, and how do you see that going?
So I've been a huge proponent of things like encrypted messaging and encrypted file systems forever. I love technology, but I won't run smart tech unless I build it. And we do build a lot of that stuff. So, like, I'm the last one to use, like, Siri or something, and it's turned off on my phone, for example. I think that a vigilant user and someone who is paying attention and cognizant of the data they leak every day is super important, because the reason those companies can do that isn't just the data that you give or like freely, it's also all the stuff that you don't read in the fine print. You know, if you're not paying for a service, you are the product, not the service. So like if Instagram is free, they're selling your data, they're monetizing you. It's not just the ads. The ads are like a bonus amount of money. The real money is in the user data. And they sell that to advertising companies and to governments and everything else that they most possibly can. Because if they sell it, it doesn't require a warrant for a lot of that stuff. And I think that if you read the user policies, if you pay attention to the data that you're doing, and look at who owns the companies that you're sharing your information with. Like so many companies, they're not really like, you know, I'm not going to say that. They're owned by investment firms and like VC groups, and those companies share everything.
Perfect example. And I want this on record because I got a lot of shit for this, and what my message was got taken wrong, and it almost cost me not knowing who my older half brother was. I made a post years ago about ancestry and all that stuff where you're doing your DNA, 23andMe, and I'm like, you're giving them your data. Like, just read.
They sell it.
Read
all
their shit. They're selling it, and like, know what you're giving them. And I'm just like, be cognizant of that. Like, it's not just you're doing your cool family tree thing, blah 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 blah. Which I've done it. I'm in that pool now.
Yeah.
But like, I did it knowingly years later, and my aunt almost did not tell me about finding my older half brother because of my Facebook post about this. And all I was saying at the time was, be cognizant of what you're doing. Just know you're part of the genome project. Like, blatantly, if you read half of the 100-page shit they give you on there, you know you're part of the genome project.
You should see what 23andMe does with genetic information sharing to third parties on it. Like, the government can just make a request and they can submit information to check it, and they'll get it doesn't even have to be you. It could be some long lost cousin. It has a warrant somewhere and they've done like a 30-year-old cold case check, and they can grab everything when they do it.
Yeah.
I'm already in the databases because of my some professional stuff, but as a private citizen, I would not be doing any of that ever.
But like, and you just saw, like, I think it just got announced like recently. Blackwater just bought Ancestry for like God knows how many billions of dollars.
I mean, they were
millions of dollars.
They were a VC group that owned a big part of them for a while first.
But like, they fully own them now. Like, what do you think Blackwater's gonna do with all that shit?
Monetize it.
They're gonna monetize it. That's what they do best, is monetize shit. So I wasn't wrong. No. And I was just trying to make people more aware of what you're doing. Like, I think so many people get caught up in the, like, hey, this is a cool thing for me. But nobody reads all the shit that comes with it. Nobody does. Yeah. Myself included. But it's just like Joe
You
Rogan.
don't even have to be in law enforcement to make a request for like genetic data.
Yeah.
Private parties can be like, I need everyone that fits whatever X genetic profile, and they will give all of that information for you. They just have to pay for it. They just give all that information for you. You don't even have to approve access to it. You can't opt out of it. All those companies do that. Again, you are the product for most of these companies, and so many people just do not realize that. And it is alarming what some of those companies are allowed to do, and how many private citizens are like, oh, I don't care because this is free or whatever. This was fun. Oh, I'm 7%, I don't know, Pacific Islander or whatever random thing they were trying to find out. A 1,000% American Indian or whatever it happens to be. And so many people, they look at that like, oh, that's the win. That's what I wanted. But in reality, they're literally giving a license in perpetuity to their genetic material. And like what all that could possibly entail. Like medical companies buy it to do like similar to drug testing against swaths of populations, all that stuff. So you're getting tested on, not directly, but indirectly, so they can figure out like potential side effects for drugs in like large simulations. That kind of thing is a massive invasion of privacy, and people think I'm crazy for talking like that. And I understand that, it's not the standard response, especially someone that's in tech. But like most of the people that are in engineering or in security or in tech, we don't like any of this stuff because there isn't a way to control it. Once you've opened the proverbial box for it, it's open and it's out there. You're never getting this stuff back in there.
Yeah, it's just like everybody thought Joe Rogan was crazy when he did like a 4-hour podcast where he literally read the TikTok user.
Oh yeah,
and everybody thought he was freaking nuts.
Yeah.
But like, if you actually took the time to like figure out what you're giving them access to and what all you're doing, and that is like, I think that was only culturally cool in the US because it showed how much China is invading our privacy and how much shit they are collecting and what all they're doing with that information. But if it had been Facebook created by Zuckerberg and the FBI, but like
with the NSA, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, how do you separate that? And he showed that like there is no separation. Like, look at what you're giving them, and this is just your basic user agreement on some of this, and it's a foreign-owned country, or company.
When the hearings were going on about, what was it, 2 years ago, they all like the senators and Congress people asking like the CEOs of TikTok and Facebook and Google and something else. And you had these people asking questions like, why do you need access to my Wi-Fi? It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. I really wish that if you're going to be, if you're a politician randomly looking at this, if you're charged with asking somebody a question, talk to somebody with a brain. Don't ask stupid follow-up questions, because it makes us look like we didn't do our research, and it makes us look foolish, like we're not serious people. Yeah. Because anyone in tech is like, these are dumb questions. Why are they wasting all of this time? Yeah. Those interviews cost like $7 or $8 million, if I remember correctly, to do. And we wasted that taxpayer money because the people that were, responsible for asking the questions didn't do a lick of the due diligence beforehand and ask the right questions. Obviously, TikTok needs Wi-Fi access to get access to the service. That doesn't need access to all the associated networks that your phone or device has ever touched. Yeah. It needs access to the current one for the purposes of establishing a connection. So that the part where it shares that information was completely lost because the questioning was wrong. That's the kind of thing that it absolutely infuriates me when people charged with being subject matter experts are not. Like, because they just didn't bother spending 10 minutes to read anything.
So do you feel the same way about this, like, VPNs? Like, no one, I'm going to speak for Texas alone, nobody in Texas really gave a rat's ass about a VPN.
Until the porn ban?
Until the porn ban. Yeah, like 10% of people knew or used a VPN until the porn ban. Once the porn ban went in, fuck, everybody was trying to figure out, how do I get a VPN? Yeah. What's a VPN? What's the cheapest service? Like, it was like when they started talking about cut the cord, cut your cable, and get all these services to save you all this money.
And now you're spending 4 times the amount of money.
As much to have the same shit you had with like Uverse that you thought $200 a month was outrageous, and you were bitching about your $200 a month Uverse bill. But now, if you actually added up all this shit you cut the cord on to have YouTube TV, ESPN Plus, Disney, HBO, Cinemax,
Paramount,
just
Netflix,
name them. Apple TV, Netflix.
And then if you want to watch something, it's like, we watch a lot of sports, especially a lot of baseball, and I pay for the MLB subscription. It's like $240 a year.
Yeah.
I pay for YouTube TV. It's $80 or so a month. I pay for Bally Sports Southwest. That's $31 a month, and I still cannot watch games unless I'm there or go to a fucking bar. And it is infuriating.
Can you fix Bally Southwest's like app or their streaming shit, can you like call them and like?
I would
feel
just like it to go back to
You might be the person that can fix this shit because their shit
it's terrible.
sucks.
The app is garbage.
It's
always been
garbage.
It was garbage before they bought the rights for everything Fox Sports did. I understand why the purchase happened, but as a consumer, it was probably the worst thing because now I can't watch anything I want and I pay for it. And so I have to VPN to like Colorado or, Oregon, Washington, Virginia to watch games when they're at home. Or go to a bar because you can only watch Bally Sports even if you pay for it on, I think it's like Dish or whoever the hell, Dish or Directed owns them.
It's so stupid.
And it's infuriating because I'm spending like $350 a month on stuff to watch 4 things because nobody just lets me buy what I want. I don't even own it when I do buy it, but that's really a different conversation. But I still can't watch it because everything's in a blackout. I mean, why am I spending all this money to watch the one thing I want to watch is the Ranger game and I can't do it? I would have rather just gotten cable.
I'm just glad to hear that somebody that I consider a computer whiz, we'll just say that, has the same problems I do, even with all the knowledge you have. And like, I'm not going to call you and be like, Brooks, I can't get on my shit. And you're like, oh, bro, just use your VPN, connect to Colorado or whatever, and you can watch the shit. But like, that's a legit fucking problem. Like, you paid the money, they tell you can log in through the app, and then you get on there and it's like, game's blacked out. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying to watch the Mavs game, blah, 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 before they were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you're like, can't watch shit. And like,
well, and you're like, they're playing 30 minutes down the road. Just put on regular TV. I'll watch Channel 8 or 4, whatever I don't watch a lot of TV, to be fair, but I think... Yeah, Mavs were on 4 Fox, I think, for a long time, or Paramount, whatever the hell it is now. It's stupid. They do it on purpose, specifically so that you get locked into some other contract. But even when you go and buy like whatever direct TV streaming thing is, it doesn't work for sports. You can buy the sports package. They'll sell you NFL Network, MLB Network, and they'll sell you all of them, but you still can't watch the games. You watch like highlights and clips. Like, I just want to watch the game.
Or you watch games that don't matter to you because it's not your home team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to watch what I want to watch. And we even pay extra for the Rangers subscription. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what are your current thoughts on the state of technology and where we're going? Like, what are hot topics or things you're looking at that you're like, either I want to know more about this or this is really mind-boggling to me? Like, where are you kind of at in that realm right now?
So I know that, right now AI and crypto, like Web3 and crypto are pretty hot things, but the reality is AI is changing how we work, and there's no getting around how that's going to happen. I'm not sure it's necessarily a good thing because it's kind of like whenever you have a whole bunch of people following the same sets of ideas, there's no original ideas, there's no creativity. What we're seeing now, because when we do hiring, I look at resumes and I can always tell when there's an AI resume because they all follow the same 6 or 7 different types of bullet points and structures, and how the information flows is almost always identical. And it's like, oh, they went to ChatGPT, fed 6 things in, and said, make this a fancy resume. And so it makes me not want to hire people that do that. I want to know that you can use the tools available to you. I don't want them to be your crutch. Right now I see we're in a transition phase where a lot of people are relying on AI to be a crutch without having to be creative, without having to think a lot, letting AI do it for them. If you use it as a tool, it's a great thing. If you use it as a primary means of getting anything across, it's going to make all the messaging the same. It's going to amplify groupthink and remove individuals. When we hire engineers, we want them to be people. I want them to be free thinking. I want them to have experiences that let them solve problems differently than I would. If I just wanted to solve every problem, I would try to find a way to freaking clone myself. But I can't be everywhere at once. We, like I said, CG, we did AI work for a long time. Well, I replaced 80 or so employees worldwide with a large AI security daemon. And it's still around. It still runs. It's been augmented over the years. But even then, I wouldn't rely on it for as many things as people do now. Like, it's cool to be able to see like the AI generation technologies. It's really cool to see how chatbots work. It's really cool to see how you can talk to search engines with natural languages, and you can get your message across really well. What's scary, though, is that the more people do that, the less they ask new questions. Like, we're losing new knowledge all the time as a result of over-reliance on these brand new tools. And in tech, that's a dangerous thing because it consolidates power and thought into one set of platforms. And that's never a good thing, because if someone gains control of that platform, it becomes a serious problem. So that's one of the things that, like, we're worried about all the time. I think it's a cool tool. It needs to be moderated. And it also, I think all of its source code needs to be open sourced. Everyone should be able to read, audit, and review. Like, I'm a big proponent of open source software and freedom of information. Like, I am not the kind of person that wants to walled garden everything that people do. Because if your idea isn't good enough to stand on its own merit, it's probably not a good idea in the first place. And I really think that people are losing a lot of that. And we're losing the skills to really troubleshoot things and come up with new and unique solutions. And it is a sad thing and a terrifying thing.
What's
and
the
a
robot
thing.
tell me to do? Pretty
much. I mean, I know techs that their very first thing they do is Google, which is fine. Honestly, it really is. But you need to have some idea of how to ask Google the right question first.
And also, if Google and other things are being censored, or I don't think many people, I don't think there's many people that can answer this, like figuring out the algorithms, like whether you're being pushed down, you're being,
Well, and the algorithms are constantly changing.
Yeah, so like there is no like answer like, oh, I want my show to be better in the algorithms.
No, it's if you feed that into something like ChatGPT, it's going to give you the top 10 things that every podcast reports was successful. Yeah. It's going to partner that with whatever random analytics it's being fed, and it's going to say these are the things you should do.
Right, but even if you do also, like, if you search something that is really controversial and you want to see that, if they don't want you to see that,
then
like,
you don't see
I'm thinking of like the Tom McDonald rap video, like example. Mm-hmm. Tom McDonald with whatever that reporter dude's name is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And he put out this highly controversial rap video. If you Googled that or put it into your search engine, that's not like the first 5 things that popped up. Like the first 5 things that popped up were Democratic platforms and different things. You actually had to scroll for a little bit, and then you could find it.
Well, look at what they did with the Trump assassination photos. They just suppressed them.
Yeah, same thing. So, like, you don't know what they're suppressing. So if your first instinct is to go and search for your answer to this, if your answer or your question doesn't fit the mod of whatever is in there currently, or what's being expanded or contracted, like, who knows what you're going to get? Like, it takes away you using your free thinking ability to come up with other possibilities, solutions, questions, or answers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, so Twitter's search algorithm is open source now since Elon bought it, and it gets code reviewed. You can go check it out and read it yourself. And Facebook's is not, YouTube's is not, Google's is not, like none of them are. And they're increasingly, we see leaks from like insiders that, release information. They're just randomly deranking things. And it's not really necessarily like a conservative versus a Democrat thing. It's just an idea thing at the end of the day. And one day that pendulum's going to swing, and it'll be more progressive or liberal things that be, if we don't get a hold of it now, it just because somebody's in power now doesn't mean they will be forever. And just because information is convenient to stifle now doesn't mean it's going to be convenient forever. It could be turned around back on them. It's why, the weaponization of the justice system is a terrible thing. I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on right now. This is a terrible thing to see the weaponization of the justice system against Trump, because he's a forerunner. He's a candidate. And I don't care who you want to vote for, but you shouldn't be using the justice system to remove somebody. I want to be able to let anyone do what they want. Anyone should be able to run, as long as their ideas are good, or at the very least, they can articulate them so they have a right to try and prove them. They should be given that right and a fair shake. And if we're not careful, we're going to remove any ability to have free thought with the way everything is so algorithmically based. And that's what we're running into, and it's been getting worse. It's like one of the few things the UK does well is GDPR for privacy. The US is terrible at it. At least GDPR, while it's a pain in the ass to implement, does a pretty decent job of what it's supposed to do.
No, but I mean, like, I'm just saying this, looking at this right now. Out of the last 10 podcasts we've done, the most random friend of mine guest has done better than expected, and I've not seen more than 2 people on here the entire time. And it's like, was it the fact that I put your name in here? Was it, you know, like, I have no freaking clue.
My name shouldn't be flagged.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's just kind of crazy. Is it what we're talking about live right now? And they're just severely.
I mean, they do real-time transcription. That's something that people don't realize. It's about 8 years ago. The tools got good enough for real-time transcription to shut down. They used it originally. It was just part of like what allows the DMCA takedowns for music.
Yeah.
The same thing works for content. And they can just take streams down, and they can throttle them, they can derank them. They've been doing that for about 8 or so years. They can hear what you're talking about and derank it.
That was my next question. So, is my phone listening to me right now? Because,
absolutely,
like, literally,
what kind of phone is it?
iPhone.
Yes.
Anytime I bring up something or say something, me and Garrett be talking about something, next thing you know, in all my feeds, if I go to Google,
even if you turn the mics off.
Yeah, and whatever I'm talking on, now I'm seeing all the even my social media feed had said, I don't know what I was talking about, and literally I purposely look at my algorithm. I look at workouts, cars, and marketing.
Yeah, that's
what I normally all I do. Got all the girls and dirty stuff out of there, whatever. And then all of a sudden, now my feed is all of what me and Garrett was having a conversation about.
So just like when you did your watch commercial.
Yeah.
So I like that.
And now
I had a conversation with somebody about it. Not only did all of a sudden, and trust me, I watch this stuff daily. Friend recommendation, threw him in there. And now we're connected on every one of my social platforms. And all I did was like the commercial you posted and do that. Not to mention, I've got, and I'm a watch guy, but like 10 other random ass watches that nobody knows the name of that brand of other guys doing what he's doing just started popping up in my feed. Like, I didn't even talk about it. I just liked it. All my mics and stuff are turned off on that stuff, but like it just starts coming in.
So when it comes to that kind of thing, it's not just only what you like, it's also what you're in physical proximity to and stuff like that. The things you've searched, the way those algorithms work, they'll take, it's not only one piece of information to make a suggestion. They'll look at 40 different things and correlate. You two guys are in the same room together. Your phones know they're in the same room together. Everything that both of you do is in the same room together, and they'll communicate on the back end for all that stuff. And so if you've liked something, and you guys have any other shared piece of content, it's going to push, both of you will push algorithms towards each other and algorithmic responses towards each other.
So that's just so crazy to me how much networking and processing is going on in the back end even all when you sleep. Mm-hmm. You know, just all the time to track, and I don't want to use the word manipulate, to track. I have to use the word
manipulate's right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
To control that and how big it's gotten. That's just... Wow.
Yeah, so Target got sued several years ago because it started sending like what to expect when you're like pregnancy stuff to this dude's house, and it was his young daughter was pregnant they knew that because of the things she had been searching for, and even before she knew it, and they got sued because they were buying data they weren't supposed to be buying, but they got sued for that. The algorithms, they look at every possible thing that's interconnected. It's like I try and never sign into a service. I have like a burner account for like all the crap and certain things. I have several of them, but they're all siloed out for certain types of things. And I always make sure and use the same email address, the same stuff across all of them. I don't have social programs on my phones, my computers. Everything I do access for that stuff is all in a sandbox. That's why I've got like no social media presence, because I don't I mean,
I
I
have
have
like zero.
I have a Facebook
impressions.
account that probably had the last post was 8 years ago, and it was like a picture of at a wedding or something.
I hate reality because I be in euphoria, going down my rabbit holes, doing everything, just wee, and then I meet somebody like you with the truth, and it's like shit. I need to lock and tighten all this stuff down, or I just need to quit. But it's like you're so
but you
inundated
can.
with it.
But
With
once
all
you're
the
in it,
stuff
like
you
once you're a
did.
part of that machine, you're a part of it. And even as hard as I work, I'm still a part of it. My data's still
like,
in there.
What about reality? Like right now, I said like, hey Brooks, like I want to like disappear from the web.
You can do that.
You can do it, but like
It's an enormous amount of work, and it's a vigilant thing afterwards. Like
Yeah,
you have to
like,
be
afterwards.
hyper vigilant later.
Like-
Stay out of photos. Stay off of any kind of camera. Stay out of public places with a lot of video surveillance. Stay anywhere out of Europe. I mean, there are things you can do to fool facial
so it'd be like
recognition.
damn near impossible though.
You
like
will,
you're not
always,
wiping out anything that was like previously already there.
At this point, it's almost impossible to wipe anything out. Even like nation state actors can't
So like that
completely.
other
They can
Tom-
suppress it, but they can't eliminate
It's like
it.
that other Tom Cruise movie where they like tracked everybody and they tracked
Minority Report. where he was-
Minority Report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're already in.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like
We've been.
and you've traveled the world, so like how much different, because I know you've done some time in like Asia and China and stuff like that, like how much different or how much further along are they than you think we are, or how much more is public than
China
what
is probably the
public here?
most public example of like the social credit system and how that stuff works, but we absolutely have a similar thing here. It's every country does. It's just not as overt as it is there, but it's coming. I mean, make no mistake, it's absolutely going to come in the next few years. You're going to openly see it. We already kind of see it talked about. Right now we call it like shadow banning and stuff because it's a convenient
Yeah.
buzzword. But the reality is we all have social credit scores. We all have like, interactivity scores. And once you're in it, you're in it. And the problem isn't necessarily what you do. It's what everybody else in your orbit does. You can disappear, but then you can't have contact with your family or friends. You can't make new family or friends because anytime your devices are near their devices, they're going to communicate, even if you don't want them to. Even if you don't have, say you don't have a Facebook account, you have a brand new phone, it's never had an account on it, and your friend's cousin's dog walker has your phone number and it has your name in it. And they sign into their Facebook account, it transfers the contacts up. It's going to say, oh, this is Garrett's new phone number. And it's going to pull all that data over to you.
Even if you have a quote unquote burner phone.
Yeah.
I
And
noticed that if somebody calls and if they made any choice, hey, do you want to update with their new information that they put in? It's like, damn, I didn't ask for it, but it wants to let me know that you did it, and it automatically gives it to me.
Yeah, just like when Brandon changes his profile picture like every other week and whatever thing he's into.
It's all the bathroom muscle
want to-
pictures.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone that wasn't like an 18-year-old college girl in the bathroom taking that many gym photos. I'm like, brother, you are in your 30s.
Mirrors.
Yes.
Mirrors.
To be fair, at least they're clean. Usually it's like got toothpaste stains all over it.
I mean, he's doing something.
Honestly, he's putting in the work. I've known Brandon from skinny to fit to chunky. Now he's getting fit again. He's doing a good thing. But
By
he
the
does
way,
take
happy
a lot of
birthday,
mirror
Brandon.
selfies. Happy birthday, brother.
So, what scares you about technology nowadays?
Overreach. Amplification of messages that don't deserve amplification. And not necessarily just misinformation, because that's a pretty ambiguous term. What scares me about technology is overreach and its ability to shut down things. Like the more we move to digital assets and a digital economy, it's going to be so much easier to unperson someone. And it's a real concern. And I'm for crypto assets. I'm for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also know that it needs to be controlled correctly. Or at the very least, it needs the right kind of monitoring, not even moderation. Because I think if an idea is good enough, it deserves the light. And if it's bad, the light will burn it. But that's just the kind of person I've always been. I'm a very like thoughtful person. I try and only make sure that the words I speak are ones I've thought first. And I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. I don't like to prejudge people or even pieces of technology. And as it stands right now, we are incredibly close to not having that be a thing that we can do. you know, with the way everything is being managed and maintained by all these third parties, it's a real concern, though.
So, what do you think about like Neuralink?
I think it's a really cool piece of technology. So my girlfriend's son-in-law is paralyzed. He was a cowboy, and he can't be a cowboy anymore. He had a car wreck. And so, like, one of the things that I've been working on is effectively a giant robot horse. And I'm dead serious about this. I'll show you my designs on my iPad. It's freaking nutty.
Robot horse.
Yeah. So they still have a ranch out in Canadian, and he needs to be able to get around. He's got a really cool track chair, and he's got like a good wheelchair and stuff, but it doesn't get you mucking stalls and getting around the way we need to in the hill country and stuff like that. And so I'm like, hey, what if I build you a giant fucking horse, basically? The Neuralink will allow him to control it in a way that hand controls will never allow. I can make the robot. I can make all that tech work. He needs a better way to control it. One of the things Neuralink will provide is really, really seamless integration with augmentations. And that to me is a truly groundbreaking thing. Like it, you know, when I do like the prosthetic hands for Enable that we had talked about, one of the things is you only have so many nerve endings that you can work. They're not all going to be usable depending on the damage or if it's congenital or whatever. And being able to pipe it into a Neuralink to control that is going to make the learning curve that much easier for people that are injured, but also make way more technology accessible and different types of prosthesis. Right now, we're very limited on how we can control them. That piece of tech is amazing to me. It's terrifying, but it's amazing to me.
So what got you into that? Because that's exactly where I was going with that to a certain degree. I know you've got like a
my elbow's fake. It's Teflon and titanium. You know, wanting to help people and my kid wanting to help people is really where that started. Is trying to be able to get into finding ways. Thank you, man. Twiggy.
So is the Iron Man suit a reality?
It can be.
That's what I'm saying. Can that actually?
Yeah, our biggest issue is power.
Stuff?
I mean, the tech itself isn't difficult. It's the power output. But honestly, small nuclear reactors have been around for a long time.
Tony Stark had one on his chest since I was a kid. So.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, his was a fusion reactor.
Yeah, but still, we have. I mean, it's still nuclear. Fusion, fission, they're both nuclear. Like everyone, you want the greenest power in the world is nuclear. For its output, for its cost, nothing beats it. And it lasts decades.
So you have to learn how, but isn't radiation a side factor?
Not everything. It is, but not everything is, you know, going to be like Fukushima or Chernobyl. It doesn't work that way anymore. We do like salt reactors now. They're not even made the same. The byproduct and the waste is like nothing. If you take the world's nuclear waste, it would fit in something like half the size of a football field for the entire planet. It's not the material itself. It's like the water and everything else. It's the problem, but we don't use them that way anymore. They're not even made that way.
So what you're saying is, so as we use up the rest of the world's resources for power and energy and things like that, nuclear, it sounds like that would be the more common sense way to go, but it's dangerous, or we don't use it right.
We don't, I mean, so it is dangerous in that it needs to be respected. Everything with that kind of output needs to be respected. And I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I've done a lot of research on it because I'm a weird nerd prepper person. So like we want to make sure we're always self-sufficient. And I've looked into a bunch of different ways to make power. And one of the things that always comes up is the efficiency of a nuclear reactor and how well it can do its job and what the real risk is, especially with any of the modern reactors. And any of the modern reactor designs, honestly, not any of them, but most of them, they'll run for 50 years. And they don't need a ton of maintenance. They need to be cared for, but not a ton of maintenance. And their risk of like a meltdown is just not there because they're made to self-contain now. They're designed that if there's a problem, they simply shut themselves down and lock themselves out. You know, like the reason like Fukushima was such a problem is because they had a tsunami that came through and wiped a bunch of crap out. But even then, that reactor was 25 years old. It was on an old design. The newer designs, they don't work that way. They just shut themselves off.
So do you see generations ahead more nuclear power and all that stuff to kind of, as the world tries to reduce the carbon footprint and get more green and all that?
I think we should. It's the greenest form. It's been the greenest form of power for its output and longevity. It's been the greenest form of power for 65 years. That's not going to change. It's only getting more efficient every year. If we had more nuclear reactors and less solar farms, it takes less resources to build one. The byproduct of most renewable energies right now is more toxic than anything we could do just burning coal all the time for the most part. It takes a lot of minerals and a lot of extra stuff.
Too many industries, so
you do. I'm not saying that things like wind and solar and geothermal don't have they all have, and hydraulic, they all have a place. But if you really want to do it, you do microgrids with nuclear. That's what you do. You want to electric vehicles? Nuclear is the only power source that's going to give us the scale that we need. There's no getting around that requirement. It takes an enormous amount of power to charge like something like a Tesla, especially if you're fast charging. The grids can't support it as it is. The reason we don't have as many charging networks is not only because of funding, it's also because grids don't support it in most places. So they can't just go drop a supercharger somewhere. The rest of the infrastructure has to be there. The bulk majority of that either comes from natural gas or wind, but wind is horrifically inefficient. I mean, we had on the ranch, we have, 700 or 800 windmills, and it's a pain in the ass.
I would hate to be the guy to go up there and change the light bulb. Them things are so freaking
Dude, it is.
huge.
They're so, people don't, you drive down, you look up and you're like, oh, that's probably 100 feet tall. Those blades are 100 feet long and there's 3 of them on there.
That's
crazy. I want to
crazy.
bet with that one time. It's like, how long is one blade for a turbine?
Do you see the trucks driving them on the road to
and they're in like 3 or 4 pieces.
I think it was 115 feet per blade.
And they move. You look at it, it looks like it's moving like 10, 15 miles. They're moving so, especially at the end, because they whip on the end. They're moving so fast. And the other thing too is they're designed to like spring oil leaks and shit all the time. Like they just throw that onto the ground, so it kills all the ground around the base. And like that's the kind of thing that drives me nuts. And I would rather just have a nuclear reactor.
So you're saying, like I said, I always go back to movies, that Doc Brown was on to something when he had the fusion nuclear reactor.
Yeah, Mr. Fusion.
Yeah, like that. He used trash. He used garbage to power this thing and energize it up, and boom, he said in the future we don't do
Yeah, I mean, that
stuff.
part of it is probably not ever going to happen. We won't be using garbage to do it, but we could.
But just the thought of powering your car with the small nuclear reactor made sense.
I mean, there are some like small reactors for like islands and stuff like that, but there are some small reactors that are like the size of a 50-gallon barrel that'll power, an island with several thousand people on it for 50 years with almost no maintenance. Like the size of the reactor itself is relatively small. The whole facility is like roughly the size of this room, and it would power an entire society of people for decades with no additional like raw material costs for the most part. And again, the risk of a shutdown is just you lose power, and it's not going to like burn the island down or anything like that.
It just amazes me. It's like, so it just makes so much sense. Why are we not all following? Why aren't we not using it?
Because
more
people hear
widespread?
nuclear and they think, and at least in America, actually it's the same in Europe. They hear nuclear, they think Chernobyl. They think they're going to grow like 7 fingers. Yeah, everyone's like, oh my God, uranium. That's what they use for warheads. No, that's sort of. We use more depleted uranium, which is a byproduct of nuclear power, sort of anyway. That's like for the weaponized stuff. Mm-hmm. But so many people are just afraid of the technology because they still believe all the stuff that people were afraid of when we were first discovering it. The reality is those designs have come decades forward and they're not that unsafe anymore. I'm not saying they're perfect, but again, if you need decades of high output, that's the only power source available for its footprint, period.
It seems like you would almost need like that study of an island that's run for over 50 years, efficiently using this as the crash test dummy to show like, hey, look, this actually works. Especially if it's gone through a hurricane, if it's gone through rough weather, if it's gone through whatever, it withstands it. But it's like it takes so much now to prove to society. It's like my son, my 15-year-old. It's like my grandmother used to already say, I've already been to where you're trying to go. So you have to do so much to prove to this hard-headed kid that the way you're doing it is not right. Let me show you the path. But then if one of his buddies does it, oh shit, check this out. This is the way you should do it, Dad.
Yeah.
I've only said this to you for the last 10 years of your life. And it's like almost, that seems like it's the way with society.
I mean, but we do kind of have those studies, actually. We have them now, and they're very recent, actually. So France and Germany both have been, France especially had a large amount of nuclear reactors. They've been slowly turning them down, and now they have brownouts. They have power problems because what they put in.
They turned them down?
Yeah, they turned them down because it's, environmentalists get pissy and shitty over nuclear. And so they turned them down. Now they have power problems. Germany, same thing. They turned them down. Now they have power problems. Now they got to buy all their fucking oil from Russia, and that's its own set of problems because of the what's going on. But in Texas, when we had the giant freeze, and this isn't a nuclear thing; it's a power thing.
Yep.
We relied so heavily on moving from natural gas to all these renewables. The air was too cold, everything froze over, and then we couldn't get access to them. And then we didn't keep any of the natural gas stuff up. There were backups that weren't lit. The lines were frozen, so we lost power.
And then they said
we
there
never
was a
had that
shitty
problem.
maintenance on it too. Like they weren't even keeping the maintenance and the overseeing someone because they never thought it was going to do what it did. But the world is changing. Like I said, you've been in Texas all your life. Have you noticed the difference in the climate? Is it hotter and has it been colder more lately? Have you experienced a freeze like that before growing up here?
In Texas, but not that cold. But yeah, we've had. I mean, we get them every once in a while. Texas is good for like once a decade for a solid freeze. That particular one, no,
Snow and everything. Look like where I'm from.
But
Nebraska.
nuclear, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but nuclear doesn't give a shit. Nuclear is just going to keep running.
And that's, I mean, but there's a plus. There's another one in the plus column.
And what's the repercussions? Like, you could, I mean, the capabilities of, let's just say, China or Russia to hack us currently and shut down our systems.
Well, so with the way the current, like we have a smart grid predominantly, at least in most of the non-rural areas in the U.S., and those all that tech is vulnerable. It's been vulnerable forever. It's a thing that comes up all the time.
How much is nuclear vulnerable, though? Because if you had a nuclear plant,
it's not the plant that's the problem. It's the endpoints. It'd be more the houses, not the plant itself. Because those plants are segmented, as they should be. To be fair, they all should.
It would be more susceptible that the house or the business would have been compromised.
Yeah, the endpoints will be compromised.
The entire system.
Yeah, so you could shut they could turn the ICC off, and it's not going to shut like the power plant down. They just shut parts of the grid.
What is it that just happened? But that was an internal thing. What was the glitch that happened that messed up all the airports, messed up a whole bunch of things? Whatever that was. I didn't mean to step on something. I didn't know. I'm just saying, but I don't know if that's even the right example, if I'm even on the right Real House. But
and some brooks roll hard. Not all brooks roll hard.
So the thing with that is you had an old set of systems that were far more reliable, but they were kind of ancient. And a bunch of airlines decided they would modernize, and the vendor they chose, it was never going to work the way it was supposed to, and they ran into the kind of issue that everyone warned them against. That's what happened. The same thing, like, not that 2 weeks out later, we had the CrowdStrike thing where a bad software update bricked, 6 million PCs.
That's what I was talking about, yeah.
And that happened because they had QC problems with their software updates, and one dude pushed the wrong thing and brought a bunch of shit down. This is where
that one dude crippled everything.
And we lost the U.S. lost tens of millions of dollars in revenue in the few hours it was down. We had clients that just their answer was, we'll just replace it. So we just deployed new hardware to fix it because it was faster, cheaper, and easier to go buy rack stuff and throw it in than it was to try and wait for CloudStrike to do whatever.
And all that other crap.
I mean, that's how that was literally our first interaction. Apple did some crazy update that didn't already have your Microsoft Office and everything else synced up for what they were doing. And that was actually my first interaction with Brooks was Brandon walked into the office and I'm like, this is fucked. I just did the update. Now none of my shit is working. Blah 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 blah. He's like, let me call my buddy. And I'm like, yeah, okay, man, sure. Yeah. I'm gonna have to call my Apple Genius dude that I know that's fixed my computer the one other time that it crashed and I had all these issues. And he's going to tell me it'll be a week before I can get out here. My shit's going to be down. He's like, no. Let me call my buddy. And he's like doing literally like 10 other things. Yeah. He's talking to me. He's like, hey, go here. Click on this. Give me access. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like linking up with him. I'm like, Brandon, this better not be fucked. I swear to God,
I don't even do break fix anymore.
And he's like, yeah, no. Just like let him do his thing. And he's like doing it. 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, all right, just reboot your computer now. Do this, and all your shit should work again. Mm-hmm. And literally in 5 minutes, all my shit was fixed. I'd been fucking with it for 2.5 hours prior to him walking in, and he made one phone call to him.
But no, Linux is not open source though, right?
What is it?
Apple, isn't it Linux?
So Apple is, well, now it's kind of, it was BSD back in the day, or Debian, I don't remember. I think it was BSD.
But that's not open source. It was all.
It is, but they have their own version of it. So the main line for most of those distributions are open source, but people can make whatever variant they want, and they can close parts of it. At this point, Apple stuff is basically just Apple stuff. They took a version of BSD and they just made it their own. Their cell phones ran on it for a long time. The OS is still based on it. So one of the things that Apple does really well is an integrated ecosystem. If you have an iPhone, an iPad, an Apple Watch, a MacBook, they all work together and all their services work together in tandem. There's only one other company that does that, and it's Samsung. Nobody else does the level of integration that they do. Not even Microsoft. Samsung is the one that does a lot of the only other real competitor to Apple is Samsung for that, because they have all the other endpoints. They have the watches, the phones, the tablets, the PCs, the services themselves. And Apple's big thing, though, is being able to do that. And the only way they could do that is to move to one consolidated like reference for their OS. And that was a decade or whatever it was ago.
And Apple did the other side of it where they made it a lifestyle, like a BMW.
Yeah.
So they made it a lifestyle. I mean, I have all Apple shit. My whole thing with Apple, it only started because of what I do with creativity. And it was just the shit for creativity. Yeah. And then I fell into the bucket with all the other shit. Cause like,
well, that when it started out too, like nobody was hacking Apple because the percentage of people that were like fucking with Apple.
Oh, dude, we didn't even. So when I worked for the Win, the first iPhone came out, and we were all BlackBerry, because BlackBerry was the BlackBerry was secure. We knew it. It worked well, but it was just not very feature rich. And we had executives that got iPhones, and they all wanted them, but they didn't even support like secure email. And like and when you work for casinos, like there's some regulatory bodies you have to pay attention. There's some standard requirements that Apple didn't meet. They met it later with the 3G iPhone. But we fought tooth and nail to keep Apple devices from coming on, because they didn't have a store, they didn't have secure messaging, they didn't have any of that stuff when they started. They iterated quickly. That's one thing Apple does well, is they do tend to refine whatever it is they've deployed very rapidly.
So why did the BlackBerry die?
They got too big for their britches. They charged way too much for their licensing, and they refused to add consumer features. They wanted to stay business only. I mean, the only reason things like iMessage exist is because BBM was there before it. We had secure group, like encrypted group messaging on BlackBerries, 10 years before Apple did it, if not longer. But they wouldn't allow you to like watch videos. There was no YouTube app or any of that stuff. Even when those services weren't particularly new, people still wanted to be able to do rich media stuff. The pictures from the cameras were always terrible. Mm-hmm. BlackBerry died because they refused to innovate and move forward with the rest of the marketplace. They thought no one's ever going to get rid of their best servers. No one's ever going to get rid of their physical keyboards. To be fair, I would rather have a physical keyboard than not. But
I know the government used the hell out back. Obama used to brag about his, but I know the government, because I had a lot of boys that was government. Yeah. They strictly used BlackBerry.
I mean, we used them for a long time because you weren't allowed to use anything that wasn't.
Yep.
Like when you were on Nipper, there was only a few things they would let you do on ARNet, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And BlackBerry was like one of two vendors, I think, that was ever approved for it that wasn't like an old dumb phone. And even then, military chipsets are different because they have a different radio requirement. But I
think that's super interesting. And I know you probably can't go into this a lot, but this is me asking a dumb question that's probably a bad question.
He'll let you know.
You're talking about still using radio.
Radio like a cell phone chipset, not like a radio. I know, but although to be fair, digital radios have come a super long. You'd be surprised what you can do with digital radio these days.
But I mean, like all the different signals. Like I've always wondered to the extent of like, how does that actually really work? And like, how do you change one frequency to another? And then the difference between like radio to, I don't know what the next example would be, but like,
back in the day, it was
keying something for you.
Yeah, so back in the day, it was like actual crystals were in there, and that's how they attuned them, was crystals with this certain like that
tube amplifiers and everything.
Well, that's for the output side, but the signal itself, like you had actual crystals in radios themselves.
Yeah.
And it's all digital now, but back in the day, it was a very, very analog process. Even like communications was a very analog process.
So the old school CB radios and ham radios and all this stuff.
Yeah, those are all digital now, but yeah, they used to be analog, and they were just pumped out with like amps. I had a ham radio license for a while. I would talk to people in like Alaska, if the cloud, because you could bounce it off the clouds and stuff back in the day. You still can, but now the FCC gets real shitty if you're putting like 25,000 watts out somewhere. You don't have a license for it. They get real crappy about that. So now we don't do that.
So do you think any of these like older sources of technology are going to come back? Because
they didn't leave.
No, I know they didn't leave, but I mean to be a more predominant force because of other technical advances that actually makes an older source better.
Like let's take what you're saying. God, I hate that I talk about
radio
movies, but the Mission Impossible. They literally had to take everything that we busted our ass to digitize in the movie. They busted their ass to print out and to hardcore back it up versus the digital realm, because it's now so. The thing that you thought you were being safe with the cloud was now the most accessible thing. And they were trying to put everything back on paper, hard disks. And I'm talking about like floppy cartridges.
Or VHS.
Whatever, just whatever.
Track.
So you think people...
tape is still like a large vaulted storage is still done on tape. Like
so when I was in the military, that's what we used. We used magnetic tape.
Yeah.
And even now,
it's good for 30 years.
I'm still trying to get my medical records to get a rating, because that shit is literally a file buried in some pile in Missouri. They have to go get it. It's not digital.
It's either Missouri or Ohio, depending on what branch you were in.
I was in Army, so mine's in Missouri.
Yeah.
And like, it's still that old school. And, I'm getting mad about it, but I'm like, well, ain't nobody going to hack that unless somebody physically pulls my form and grabs it somewhere. But it's not digitized, which I was very surprised.
So even like post 9/11, a lot of stuff was still analog, really up until probably 04, 05. It was still just everything was still done with multiple copies on paper. And
but what he said though, I wonder if that is that a better, unless it burns.
Yeah,
that's the fear, if it burns or something.
But it's stored in more than one location. Like it's on paper, but it's in most of the stuff for the military is in at least 3 locations.
But it's something that
and it's digital somewhere.
But it's
by now.
something that we deem quote unquote archaic right now. Do you think with other, and this is a shitty example because this is not my language to speak. I'm just trying to ask.
Fake it sounds
smart. But like if something archaic like Morse code or 8-track or cassette or radio, is something like that, do you think there's room where either AI or further innovation is going to bring a form of that back in a newer, more advanced way?
Yeah. It's happening now. Prepper, like there's a big thing for people in the prepping community where we all have radios now, like old radios, old like ham and CB style. Most of us, it's not quite that old, but it still works. But that's the kind of thing that you see in more rural places, because you're not going to get cell coverage everywhere. But I still have a CB in my Jeep. I
know the truckers still have old school CB radios in their truck,
Because at the end of the day, it's reliable. It's good for about 20 miles. And if I need to get a signal out, I can, even if it's only my voice. But you can do data over regular radio these days. Like the mesh-tastic stuff is a really cool thing. It doesn't require like traditional cell towers or anything, but it lets you do like messaging for text, some voice. You wouldn't be watching movies over it, but it's a completely disconnected internet basically, and it's like this $10 device. We throw them all over the ranch, and we can just go pop messages wherever we want. And that's radio tech. It's not necessarily.
Think
fancy.
about how crippled we are now. I just seen it on the news a day ago that AT&T, somebody stole the copper out of their system or something, and the whole city neighborhood had no internet. Just not having internet, you're done. You can't do nothing. Because you know now, like,
but nobody has
shit.
any backup or resort to that. So that's probably a good
I mean,
question
to be
for you
fair,
too.
I have a server at my house at the ranch and a colo and in a cloud with a couple of 100 terabytes on it.
But that's you. But the average Joe, like me, I mean, like, so does anybody, like, remember that thing, that dish that used to go on your house? It's gone. People don't do that. And a lot of people ain't waiting for the weather to wear. Everything now, your TV streaming, you're on your cell phone. If the internet goes out, what can you do?
So great transition there. As a person that has the kind of knowledge that you have about technology and stuff, if you were Humpty Dumpty and you fell off the wall and you went complete prepper, I want to be protected if shit really
drive to my ranch.
Really hit the fan. So what kind of I dude, I can't wait for the invite. I'd love to go out there and hang out with you.
They're all over Texas. We have more than one. The family's got a bunch of them.
All right, but what kind of things have you found important, and what kind of things have you done? You know, like my friend Jason Redmond, who was a Navy SEAL, you know, he gives his just the tip of the day.
Yeah.
And he talks about a lot of things that he has to be prepared if the worst of, if the doomsday shit happened, or he needed to connect with his family or friends and they had to do those things. So what are some of the top things you think are important, considering all the things that you know? Like, what would be your like top 5 focal points? Is it like other and leave out like basically having like food rations, water rations? Like, what are the other things to communicate, to survive, that you have that maybe would be deemed old school or whatever that you
honestly, if you
to?
don't want me to go to like the basics of always keep at least 60 days of medicine, food, water, stuff like that, and every place you're going to be, make sure that your vehicles always have fuel or you have cans of gas to get to it. I would say get a radio, like an actual, to hear stuff, like an FM, AM radio, so that you can hear people's broadcasts, because pirate wave is still pretty big. Even if the stuff on the regular radio sucks, at the end of the day, most houses or cars, more importantly, have some form of radio. That's like one of the fallback communication methods in the U.S. and really basically anywhere. And then just buy like a 4-pack of the Baofeng radios on Amazon for like $65 and give them to all your friends and family that are near your community. They go about 60 miles or so. They're good for about a day on battery, and they're relatively simple to use. You can send text. You can do secure calls back and forth between endpoints. They take almost no setup. And there's dozens of resources on YouTube to learn how to do it. But yeah, have a radio, a way to hear broadcasts and a way to send them. And I would do like FM or AM at the bare minimum so you can hear it. I mean, that's if you want not the usual stuff, that. And have at least 5,000 rounds of ammo for every caliber you shoot. Train with whatever you have, whatever weapon system you use. I don't care if it's a bow and arrow. Train with it every day. Or at the very least, consistently enough to be able to do it.
All right. I have no idea where he's going this, but how does the old Nextel work from Motorola?
You could do pirates. I don't think that you can still use them. He means like the push to talk. I would just buy the regular PTT Baofeng units. They work similarly, but if you have like an old Nextel phone, I don't think those towers still exist. I think Sprint decommissioned them a few years ago. They used to work. I don't think they still do. They did. Technically, you could get data and voice on them, but it's device specific.
Okay, so you're going straight up old school radio, be able to send broadcast on radio and also hear radio.
Yeah. If you want like the God's honest, if the world is ending, radio is very cheap, very easy to produce the signal for. They're all over the country, and you can use that for all kinds of stuff.
Crazy satellite radio, walkie-talkie.
No, you can have a good sat phone, but that's really more on the extreme, or if you're more rural. But you could have a sat phone. But even then, satellites can go down. They don't go down that often, but they can go down. The bigger risk is what happens if the billing systems don't work. So, because the satellites aren't going to crash, but you may not have your account paid for because that a company ceases to exist, so the automated systems would flag
Or
your
they're
access
shut down.
Yeah.
And you can't access their.
But if you've got
satellite.
point-to-point radio, you're fine because it doesn't rely on any of that stuff. And you can build relay stations, stuff like that.
Well, dude, I've thoroughly enjoyed sitting here doing this with you. I mean, we could just do this for hours on end, but I think you've brought a lot of really good information to people, and in a manner that, like, I think a lot of people could understand it. You know, maybe we lost some people in certain acronyms or certain things there, and we could most certainly go more in depth in that. I mean, there's certain things that you reference that I'm even like, all right, what the hell was he talking about? Like, I don't know.
I can give you stuff to post in the comments.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but I mean, I'm just saying,
need.
like, in general, I mean, I hate that, like, even though we kind of joked about it earlier, like, I completely feel like this episode is, like, being pushed down in comparison. And maybe it's just the subjects we're talking about. Maybe it's you. I really don't know. But these are these type of conversations are the ones that I have. They're the ones I like to have. It's the things I want to share with people because, as you and I talked about, like, I fucking hate today's media.
Yeah.
I hate the media. I hate this whole influencer bullshit. Like, can we take a minute and, like, think about that? Like, who really wants to be influenced? Like, do you really want to be influenced? No. I want to learn shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to be in a room with people that are way the fuck smarter than me, and I want to, like, hear them talk and learn from them. That's what I really want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a room where I feel like someone's trying to pitch me, sell me, influence me.
Yeah.
That, like, I hope that truly starts to go away sometime soon, because these influencers at some point have to die off because there's so much bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like, at some point, people have to go like, all right, well, all right, cool. That guy rented a Ferrari. Yeah, he rented a private jet. Like, cool.
It's all fake.
You can do that if you have enough money.
Yeah.
That's not like some prestigious thing. That person doesn't actually know more. They're not better at doing anything. They might be a better snake oil salesman, but they're not actually really good or have a above average knowledge of X.
Yeah.
They're just, all right, they have a bigger following. They put some flashy shit out. Like, I can't stand that shit.
I miss when the internet was about the human condition. What it meant to live a life, not show the best parts of it. Because life is messy, man. It's messy. It stinks. Sometimes you get shit on, quite literally.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a parent. And I miss real people online.
Yeah.
Like, it's a part of, like, a byproduct of what I do every day is I'm online quite a bit. And I miss being able to pull up something on YouTube and just see someone's normal life, not like the highlights. I don't want to know that ExpressVPN is for $2 a month or whatever the hell they're shilling, or whatever other garbage mobile game that's going to over monetize you and steal your data. I want to have conversations with real, regular people.
Yeah, and it seems like, and granted, you're probably way more certified to talk about this because I'm sure you were on it and way deeper. It's almost like when you hear people talk about the dark web. Well, like, I feel like the whole web was the dark web before mainstream learned about it and it was accessible to everybody. Where you actually had people having real conversations and doing real things and putting real shit out there. Because let's be honest, when the internet first came around, it was a bunch of fucking nerds that understood things that nobody else did.
Yeah.
When Bill Gates wrote his first book about the web and all of that, and they were just having like general, quote unquote, nerd conversations. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing flashy, there was nothing fancy, there was no influencing. It was just guys like, well, what do you think about this new, like, how I sped up this processor or whatever? but you were able to have a real conversation. It wasn't all this other bullshit.
Well, I remember, we used to say the internet was built by a bunch of tech rednecks. Because the internet was primarily driven by ingenuity, like a requirement. Something didn't exist, so you wrote it. Like that was, you problem solved by creating something new. And now it's, you just go license somebody's framework. If you look at the amount of knowledge on the internet, it's very, very, very vast. But a problem we're having right now is it's contracting. So like when you're looking for troubleshooting stuff, you go to Reddit or whatever, or you go to YouTube to try and fix something on a car. It used to be we had message forums and websites. Those have really gone away for stuff in social media. Discord is a powerful communication tool. The amount of information that exists solely in Discord, which isn't searchable from the internet for the most part, we're losing decades of the human experience online and information because it exists in a walled garden that can't be indexed anywhere but inside the app. Like on the tech side, if you buy a product, right? You want support, you go to their Discord, you can chat with their people live. If you got to go find it later, it's incredibly difficult to find old information, only current information. We're losing all of that every day. Like that's something that
Because it's only on Discord.
Because it's only on Discord or only on Reddit, or only in these private communities, they don't reshare it. Because a lot of people are worried if they reshare information, somebody else is going to steal it, monetize it, or kick it off the internet. Like the amount of stuff that you can find used to be on YouTube, you could find a way to fix or do almost anything. And now it's a bunch of corporate content. And
is that also why you have so much like AI hallucinations and stuff like that? Like I heard that guy I was talking about earlier with Scorpion. He was talking about it as like AI where you have the hallucinations and stuff like that is anybody can go into Wikipedia and update Robert Brooks's profile and say all this crazy shit about you, true or not true. And AI is just taking the cumulative information that it can gather. It can't fully yet separate.
Well, it doesn't understand context. Like it doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't, none of that yet. Because it's really hard how do you teach a computer what sarcasm and context are? Like you can't read a room. It lacks the rest of the facilities required to physically read a room. And we're losing so much information because, again, what I came back to earlier, the over-reliance on AI tools really compacts the amount of new information that goes out. So many things are just going to be funneled down to smaller and smaller and smaller chunks where, if that's like the source that you think is the right source to get your information, like Wikipedia, but it's not controlled in how it's edited or isn't validated, you get a whole bunch of poor training materials, garbage in, garbage out. And a lot of AI models right now are getting the garbage inside because they're not vetting their sources. They're just shoveling as much crap into it as possible. It's why Microsoft's AI bots, chatbots, several times have been racist within like a couple of days because they're fed garbage social media posts and 4chan articles. That's why they always end up delving into like horse shit. And Microsoft has to pull them. They've done these 3 times over the last decade. And every time the AI has gone freaking wild in like a week or two because it's fed garbage information.
Yeah, you can't take out some human aspects. And I mean, I hope they don't figure that out because I think we need to resort back to, like you said earlier, like it could be a really good tool, but we need to look at it as a tool and not a end all be all. Yeah. I feel the same way about our phones. You need to, like, people forget that it's just a tool. Like, you don't live and die by this thing. Like, yes, it can be a lifeline as a tool, but like, people can't put that thing down.
No, I've seen videos of like people having like full-on psychotic breaks because someone takes their cell phone away. Like kids have panic attacks because their battery is low. It's like the world exists outside of your cell phone, bro. And
you're gonna be okay.
If an EMP goes off tomorrow, it's gone. You need to be able to function without that.
I smacked my phone out of my son's hand yesterday.
Yeah.
Because literally he walks around the house like this all day, gets in my truck the whole time. I mean,
Jesse,
but he chin checked me. He said, "Dad, you're always on your phone." I'm like, shit, you're right. I'm always checking email. Like I monitor the show here with my phone and look at it there. I'll look up something, whatever. But then I thought about it. I'm always setting. I was just like, it is literally become. I ask this question all the time. How many people have left the house, left their phone? You're 30 minutes down the road and you'll flip the hell back around and go get it. Yeah, because you have to have it.
Yeah.
Me and my wife will be at dinner or something like that. And, you know, her excuse is, well, I got kids. I'm like, just put the ringer on. If something wrong, they'll call you.
Yeah.
But like, put the phone down.
But even back in the day, like I wish we could go back to pager days, because then there wasn't this expectation of, as we right now, it's like, oh, do I have enough quarters on me to go to the payphone?
But you'll squirm. If your phone isn't around you, if you don't have it in arm's reach, you develop to squirm. We developed a hunch. Yeah. Because we're looking down at our phones.
They call it tech neck. There's like a physiological thing where your spine and the base of your neck are, it's pushing back on people because they spend so much time like this. And I the same thing, because I'm always in front of a computer or a phone.
Homeless people don't got a house, but they got a cell phone.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely insane.
And they don't just have a cell phone. They have like a brand new iPhone or whatever current bleeding edge Android
I'll tell you
device.
this. I didn't get to tell you this. I think I told you this earlier. You know the craziest shit? I hadn't been to Denver in like 5 years, and I was in Denver. The amount of furry people I saw, like, I thought that shit was like just like Instagram, and like, I thought it was like going to like the, you know, like,
you mean people that identify as furries?
Like, yeah, like
they wear the
Comic-Con
fursuits and
shit.
stuff.
Like, there were armies of furries. The homeless has like quadrupled in Denver. Yeah. Well, which I'm not just gonna shit on Denver. I think it has in Dallas too. Yeah. Like, I mean,
Lone Star High School was talking about putting a litter box.
I think it's
I saw that. There's
dude, man.
But I think like it's a state of our economy.
I can't make this shit up. Exactly. No, you're not. I can't make this shit up.
But I think it's a state of our economy. Like, homeless has gone up like across the board. It was really weird that like Denver just, you know, I was just there 4 or 5 years ago. But like the craziest thing I saw on the last day I was there, when I was like killing time before I went back to the airport, I saw a dude in full furry, I'm just going to say costume, like full outfit, not just face paint in the ears, like in like a onesie, like full on
walking around
cat outfit.
Do that in Texas, you're gonna sweat to death.
Walking his dog.
Real dog.
A cat
not another dude like a dog.
And it was like a big ass dog, like Rhodesian Ridgeback, like big ass fucking dog. Like, it was like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, I just don't understand and why we give these people time or attention. It's so wild.
I'm for the most part a live and let live kind of person. Like, you do you, boo boo. At the end of the day, leave me the fuck alone. I'll leave you the fuck alone. I don't really care what you do within reason. Like, leave kids alone and stuff like that, obviously.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It is. That one will probably get canceled or deranked. But, you know, I don't care what someone does in the privacy of their own home. And honestly, I don't really care what they do for the most part. But sometimes I look at people and I'm like, what in the fuck has happened in the last like 7 or 8 years where this is a normal thing? Even in IT, but people that are furries, like in tech, it's a large percentage of the techs and engineers are furries. Like, it's just a thing for tech people. There's memes about it, and it's a strange thing. And I've met quite a few of them. Again, I don't really have a problem. You do what you want, boo boo.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to call you a kitty cat. I'm going to call you Dave or whatever the fuck your name happens to be, because I'm a grown up and you're a grown up and we'll do grown up things.
Yeah.
But I've dressed up like Iron Man and Captain America and run around on Halloween with my kid. So I'm not too much better.
That's Halloween.
It is, to be fair, yeah, it is Halloween. But I have seen some truly obnoxious things come out.
Or you were going to Comic-Con or something where it was actually appropriate to dress up. Like, I'm not saying there's time and place, but like, these people that want to identify, and man, I'm not.
If you want me to say that you're a kitty cat, I'm going to call you an idiot.
Yeah.
If you're not a kitty cat, you're still a human.
Brandon, you're an idiot. No, I'm just kidding.
He doesn't dress up like a kitty cat. He's got a deer.
You have proof of that?
No. He would never let pictures be taken. That's for his private time.
All right, we're going to wrap this up because we're at that time. We're going to do this. We're going to do our normal thing. But before we do that, I'm going to say this again because I'm smoking the Panda Domino again. Luciano and Panda, I hope y'all do something together again someday, because this is one of the best damn cigars I've ever smoked.
It smells good.
I truly love this cigar, and what you guys did and what you guys do is really, really awesome. So, shout out again, y'all. You better go find them before they're completely gone, because I don't know if they're ever coming back. But Panda, Domino, the Luciano collab is the shit. All right, man. So we wrap every show with the same 2 questions. So now's your chance to partake.
Okay.
So first question: if you got to leave your kids or grandkids with one piece of advice, what is the one piece of advice you're leaving them with?
Never stop being curious. It sounds hokey, but honestly, it's what it is. Because if you're curious, you're going to be willing to take risks. You're going to be willing to learn, and you're going to be willing to listen to ideas that aren't your own. I don't want my kids to be in an echo chamber. I don't want the world to be in an echo chamber. And what happens right now is we're just making curiosity a thing that is shunned. And I would tell my kids and my grandkids and even my younger self, never stop being curious. Never stop wanting to find some new piece of insight. Because the minute you do, you might as well be dead.
Right on, man. That's good advice. I like that. All right. This is my favorite part, and I always love to see where the guest goes with this. So it's called Common Sense, the podcast. Now is your chance to give our listeners your 2 cents. It can be your 2 cents about anything. If there is part of the rabbit hole you wish I'd have gone further down, if there's something else that's just been on your mind, something else you wanted to say that I didn't ask you about, whatever, it's just your chance to give Common Sense, the podcast listeners, your 2 cents.
All right. Well, I'll stick with the theme of the be curious part, but I'll add to it. Be mindful and cognizant. I think that people in general are not very mindful of those around them. And I think that the world is a worse place for it. And I think that we should bring things like stoicism back. We should teach people. Oh, seriously. It sounds like
I love it.
It's people think I'm ancient for thinking like that. But bring back taking a break, taking a beat, and taking a moment. Bring back being stoic. Bring back not spitting everything out of your fucking brain that happens to roll into it. Because so many people think that they deserve to be heard, and they don't. So many people think that they have to say everything on their mind, and most of it should just probably be a thing they keep inside the little voice in their head. And I think that those things need to come back, though.
And we need to quit rewarding
mediocrity. Do not give participation trophies to your children, because it's only going to hurt them in the end. You know, when we try to protect our kids from whatever hurts they might have, all we're doing is pushing that pain off, because the real world's going to come knocking one way or the other.
Yeah.
And if you don't teach your kids to deal with conflict, confrontation, and pain when it's cheaper, when they're young, they'll do it when they're older, and it's far more expensive, both long-term mental damage and financial damage potentially.
I agree. And I think it's kind of, like Eminem kind of said it in his song Habit. It was like, why do we keep celebrating we can't fat shame. We can't shame you because of your bad health or your poor decision. No, you should be called to a certain standard. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, all right, cool, you choose to be that way, but why do we make all these exceptions for these things that we know are not good?
Yeah. Well, they're trying to regulate normalcy right now. They're trying to make everything normal so that nothing is extraordinary, but that also means that nothing is hurtful, and neither of those things should be celebrated. If you're extraordinary, you should be celebrated.
Yeah.
If you do well, you should be celebrated. And if you do poorly, you should learn from that experience to do better.
Yeah.
If I had given up every time someone told me no, I would be nowhere in life. If I had not pushed through the dumb shit, if I just let my circumstance and how I was born and how I was raised keep me where I was, I'd be some other just poor redneck doing dumb shit. I wouldn't have done anything innovative with my life. I was forced to. My parents made me do what I did in life. They taught me the base that I needed to stand on so that I could continue to build bases for other people to stand on and to grow up. And my biggest worry for the world is that we're not doing that anymore. And we're in fact discouraging parents to do that and people in general to do that. And it's a horrific part of the current human condition.
I agree 1,000%. Well, dude, thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
It's been a pleasure sitting here chatting with you and getting to know you even better. And I hope we can have you back on someday and do this again. But thanks for sharing your knowledge, your story, and just, you know, opening up to the community, man. Like, I think you had a lot of things that were really amazing for people to hear and lessons to be learned.
Well, thanks, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
All right. I hope to see you all again next week. We'll see you same time, same place. Peace.
Bye, guys.